Hello, my name is Ashley Greenwald. I'm a registered dietitian at Johns Hopkins Bayview. I'm here today to talk to you about meal planning as part of our weight management series here at Johns Hopkins Bayview. Thank you for joining me. Okay. Your handout that you also have goes hand in hand with this presentation, so please follow along in the handout. The first page, we're going to just kind of ask yourself, do you regularly plan meals? Yes, no. And if you do plan meals or don't plan meals, what are some of the challenges you face when planning meals? And hopefully through this presentation, we'll be able to help you overcome some of these barriers. Why plan meals? Planning meals is such an important part of weight management, and it also can be very helpful with time and money saving. When we have a plan for meals throughout the week, there's definitely less time constraints in making food decisions, which is a huge obstacle for barrier, and also what to make. So if we, at the beginning of the week or a time in your week when you have time, sit down to make meals, these are some of the benefits of meal planning. Definitely, we're cooking more at home more often, which is such a great thing because when you're cooking more at home, it's easier to follow some of the nutrition guidelines and make sure you're getting a variety of fruits and vegetables in there when we're planning meals at home. It also reduces time restraints in making food decisions, which again is a huge barrier. It's that dreaded question, what's for dinner, mom? Or what's for dinner? When you have a plan in place that you have put in one of the days before, you're going to know what's for dinner. So it definitely helps, takes that questioning out of it. It also helps lower the risk of obesity. When we plan meals, we could plan some healthy options versus grabbing carryout or maybe microwaving something quickly. And it helps us to have a better attitude towards healthy eating. Here are some tips for meal planning. Take a look at your week. Everybody's week varies. A lot of people work Monday through Friday, but there are some people who work overnights. There are some people who work the weekends and they're off during the week. So take a look at your given week and see when you might have some time to sit down and plan meals. You don't have to do the whole week at once. We could just work in like 2 to 3 days or however works best for you. But when we're doing that meal planning, sit down and prepare a grocery list to go along with the week. Ask yourself questions like, which nights of the week can I plan to prepare dinner versus what night is a good night for leftovers? Am I working late one night? So maybe I'll have to plan a meal, just leftovers that night. Do you need to plan meals or snacks for work? Don't forget, meal planning also includes breakfast and lunch. So, or in another example, as far as snacking could play a huge role in meal planning. If lunch, for example, is at noon and then dinner doesn't happen until 6 or 7, let's get a meal in between there, a little snack to help protect us from overeating or over consuming and getting to the point of so ravenous that we might stop for something on the way home or hit a vending machine. Let's get others involved in the house. So I hear a lot from clients, I have a tough time pleasing my spouse, my kids. Let's get them all involved. Let's make this a family planning. That way, when it comes time to meal planning, if they offered a suggestion when it comes time for that meal, there might not be quite as much arguing. And use recipes that call for similar ingredients that you could use throughout the week. For example, it may be on Sunday, you grill some chicken. Monday night, we could have fajitas. Tuesday for lunch, we could put some of that chicken on a salad. And that way, we're only really prepping the main protein once during the week. Make your life easier for later on if it's a night you know you're going to be busy. This is something helpful that you could use as a meal planner. And this is something you could keep on your refrigerator, on your kitchen table, on your island. And again, this is something you could get others involved in the house with. Meals are breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. And this is something that we could do and take a look. Breakfast, Monday could be yogurt and fruit. Lunch on Monday, we could have the leftover chicken on a salad. Dinner, we could make fajitas. We could kind of plan this throughout the week. And like I said, we could even do 2 to 3 days at a time if it's too overwhelming to do all at once. But it helps you have a plan going forward for the week. Another helpful thing when using a meal planner is maybe using some theme nights. Taco Tuesday is a great idea. That way we have one night that we just don't have to think about it because it's a theme night. Another idea might be Meatless Monday. So these are some ways to plan for the week, and using this as a helpful visual tool to help organize the week. Did you know the average shopper spends 40% more on impulse purchases when shopping without a list? I think we've all been guilty of doing this. Two of the biggest places in the grocery store where these impulse purchases take place are on the end caps. So when you end an aisle and you go to the next aisle, at the end cap, we often make impulse purchases, and marketers know this. And at the groceries, at the checkout, at the register, this is another place we make impulse purchases. So here are some grocery tips that can help you get through a grocery store without making these impulse purchases and being really organized. Make a list and stick to it. Keep a list in a centralized location, whether it's on the fridge, on the island, on your kitchen table. And when you run out of something, quickly check your pantry, because we've all repurchased the same item several times. And then if we've run out, quickly update the grocery list. That way we could just have it ready to go instead of sitting down at one time and writing what things we ran out. Keep it real in live time. And sometimes organizing your grocery list by food group or store layout is really helpful and time saving. So you could have a whole list of fruits and vegetables. And that way, when you're in that section, you can purchase all the fruits and vegetables. Your protein, they're all together in the grocery store. So if you have them all together in the grocery list, you could just hit that spot and check everything off. The other thing that this helps with by organizing your list in food groups or store layout is it helps you avoid shopping every aisle. If things aren't on your list in some of the snack aisles, then we don't have to go down that aisle. We just stick to what is on our list. Never go grocery shopping hungry. I think we've all been guilty of doing that, and everything looks good. And we often end up with things in our cart that we really didn't mean to purchase. And then read food labels. So let's spend a few minutes talking about some food labels. So food labels recently changed as of January 2020. The new food labels are the ones on the right. The old food labels are on the left. You still may see some of these in some of the smaller companies, but the new food labels on the right, and that's the one I'm going to take a couple minutes to talk about. One of the most important things to look at when you're looking at a food label is serving sizes. It's really important to pay attention to the serving size because everything on that label is per serving. What these new labels have done is they've made these calories a lot larger. So it's a little easier to see. And then it will say right on there, amount per serving. So it's important to stick to the serving size because if we double that serving size, we're going to have to double everything else on the label, including the calories, the fat, the cholesterol, the sodium, etc. The other thing that is added on these new labels, which is a great add, is at the bottom under total sugars, it now takes out added sugars, which is a really big help because certain foods contain sugar naturally. Two big examples might be fruits and dairy. So for example, if we're buying a fruit cup in 100% juice, it's going to say how many grams of sugar are included, but there shouldn't be any added sugar. But an example of something with added sugar might be that same fruit cup, but in heavy syrup. That's an example of a food that has an added sugar to it. Milk, for example, has sugars naturally. It's the lactose is the natural sugar. But if you're purchasing chocolate milk, that's another example that has some added sugar. The other thing that changed on these new labels is at the bottom where it says vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium. The old labels used to have vitamin C, and the new labels have replaced the vitamin C with vitamin D because vitamin D deficiencies are pretty prevalent in the United States. And then some of the percent daily value at the bottom of the footnote has just been updated. It's important to pay attention to these labels. And one of the first things, like I said, is to check out the serving sizes. The other thing that can be helpful to use and a helpful tool are those percent daily values. They're based on a 2,000 calorie diet. But a helpful thing that you could look at for key nutrients is that 5%, 20% rule. Anything that's 5% of the daily value or less is low for a nutrient. So that might be something good to pay attention to when you're looking at how much fat is in something. We want that number to be as close to the 5%. The 20% daily value or more is high for a nutrient. So obviously something like fat, we wouldn't want to be close to that 20%, but maybe something like fiber, it's good to choose a food that has 20% in the daily value or more because that's high in the nutrient. It's also important to choose foods with less than 15 grams of sugar per serving. And this is a really helpful tip to pay attention to both before surgery and after surgery, because presumably things with less than 15 grams of sugar are going to be really low in the added sugars. Now that these new labels will break out the added sugars, We want to really try and keep those added sugars as close to zero as we can, because we want to eliminate food choices like fruit cups with heavy syrup, chocolate milk, or even oatmeal, for example, like oatmeal, brown sugar, maple brown sugar is another example of added. I'd rather you buy your own oatmeal and add cinnamon to it. Grocery shopping and groceries tend to be a little bit more expensive, but there's several budget-friendly groceries tips that we could try. Coupons are a great way to save money, and people could be really organized with couponing. Another thing is most grocery stores have a rewards card, and that's a good way to save some money using your rewards card. It often takes off some money. Every grocery store also has an app, which is an additional way to help save money. What these apps can also do, it can help with meal planning a little bit, because you might see that chicken is on sale at your local grocery store and you could purchase that, and that might help you plan meals throughout the week. So that's a great way to save some money. Buy some store brand products. The generic brand of products are often just as good as the regular brand name. Yogurt is a great example. A lot of the store brand yogurts are equally as good and completely equivalent to the name brand, and that's a big way you could save some money. Buy things in bulk and on sale. That's another great tip, and you could utilize a lot of the warehouse product stores like the Costco or BJ's or Sam's Club and purchase things in bulk and then freeze them, either cooked or raw, and then that can help with meal planning, but also you have a lot more of the protein source or even the snack source, and you could portion it into little bits throughout the week, and that's a big money saving tip. As far as fruits and vegetables go, try and buy fresh produce that's in season to get the best price. This makes it a little difficult in the middle of winter, and if you're in the middle of winter, it's good to maybe purchase frozen or canned, because they're often picked at their peak and either flash frozen or canned. And when you're choosing the frozen or canned, you want to make sure there's no extra sauces. We're just sticking with the vegetable, and I'll give more to that later. With produce, be careful not to buy more than you need. There's nothing worse than produce going bad in the fridge or on your counter. So maybe really just try and think about the week and buy that more frequently. Check the sell-by dates and best use dates, and really in the summertime, try and take advantage of the farmer's market. You could often get coupons or little codes that you could use at some of the farmers markets that could be a little bit more budget friendly. As far as some tips for meal prep, like I said, take a look at your week and try and find time at the beginning of each week to plan and prepare meals. If going the whole week is really overwhelming, we could take it as a 2 to 3 day process and then reevaluate and do another 2 to 3 days. But consider slicing fruits and vegetables ahead of time. That's a huge time saver. When you get home from the grocery store, rather than leaving the watermelon or the pineapple on the counter, cut it up and have it ready to go in your refrigerator. So if you're looking for a quick snack, you could just grab some of the cut up produce and take it with you. Vegetables, you could cook in batches. That's a really good thing. You could kind of get a huge tray and roast a whole bunch of different vegetables and have a different vegetable each night of the week. Use a crock pot or slow cooker. Crock pots are really helpful if you want to set it to go before work, and when you get home from work, you might have a meal. Or there's tons of new multi-cooking products on the market, such as an air fryer, which is a good choice, or an Instapot. These are good things for time saving and really tasty food that's in a low-fat cooking method. Pack lunches and snacks the night before to save time on busy mornings. There are morning people out there, but not everyone's a morning person. So in order to meal plan, maybe as you're cleaning up the dinner meal, you could put your leftovers away and prep lunch for the next day at that time, or pack up leftovers and freeze them and make your own frozen entrees for nights that you don't feel like cooking. But definitely packing your lunches and snacks the night before is a huge time saver for mornings. And if you are going to reuse things or use Tupperware, I would encourage you to use more glass than plastic. It makes it transferable a lot safer and a healthier reheating method. So let's talk a little bit about what a balanced meal looks like. Some of you may have seen this image, some of you have not. If you haven't been to the choosemyplate.gov website, it's a great interactive website that is a huge help for meal planning. This is kind of what the government has put out to help us plan healthy meals and balanced meals. If you notice that the whole left side of the plate are fruits and vegetables, and the right side is split between the grains and the protein. And it's a really colorful, interactive plate and way of looking at things. And we're going to kind of go through each group now and talk about how to balance the plate. Every meal is not going to look like this, but it's helpful to get at least 2 food groups at a meal just to help balance our day a little bit more. So let's start with the left side of the plate and talk about fruits and vegetables and why it's important to make them part of our healthy diet. Fruits and vegetables are just naturally low calorie and high fiber, and they contain essential vitamins and minerals. And what these fruits and vegetables can do is they could reduce our risk of heart disease and heart attacks and stroke. When we're eating foods that are low in calorie and high in fiber, like the fruits and vegetables, they reduce the risk of obesity and type 2 diabetes. They protect against certain types of cancer. They could help lower blood pressure. There's a diet out there called the DASH diet, which is dietary approaches to stopping hypertension. And it's a heavily fruit and vegetable focused diet, which can help reduce high blood pressure. And also it helps control calorie intake when choosing fruits and vegetables instead of higher calorie foods, which in turn can help control weight. Let's talk about fruits first. Fruits are a great source that we can incorporate either as a healthy snack or a side to a meal. It's something quick we could incorporate at breakfast with a yogurt, or it's something quick we could incorporate in our lunches. A good goal is to aim for 1.5 to 2 cups of fruit per day. A cup of fruit is about the size of your fist or of a tennis ball. Fruit juice is something that we're going to try and limit. Our serving of fruit juice is about 4 ounces, and it has about 70 calories. So the calories from fruit juices do add up. So it's important to try and get your fruit serving coming from the actual whole fruit, where you can chew and get the fiber and a lot of the vitamin and minerals versus just drinking the juice. When grocery shopping, try and choose fresh fruits in the produce section in season. I know come the summer months, you see more and more of them. But again, we could always purchase frozen fruits without added sugar. This is a great way to get it in there. When purchasing the frozen fruits without the sugar, again, make sure it's just whole mango, whole strawberries, nothing with added sugars to it. And if you're buying the fruit cups or the canned fruits, which are totally fine, just make sure there's no sugar added or 100% juice, none of the heavy syrup. Ways to increase your fruit intake: keep fruit in sight in a bowl on the table and countertops for easy snacking. When you get home from the grocery store, it's a good idea to kind of wash off the fruit and have it ready to go. So when you're hungry in the mood for a snack, you could just grab that apple and just eat it. Even eliminates the step of washing it. Prepare fruit ahead of time for snacking on the go. Again, let's try and minimize the amount we have the melon or the pineapple sitting on the counter. When we bring it home, maybe cut it up and have it ready to go in the fridge. That way, when we want a snack, it's already prepared. Pack berries, grapes, or sliced fruits in bags or reusable containers. Keep bananas around, apples, clementines, plums. Those little cuties are quick and easy to peel, a great thing to snack on throughout the day. And be creative. We could always add it to fruit, smoothies, salads, meat dishes. One note on smoothies: if we are incorporating fruit that way, we just want to make sure we limit the amount of added fruit to about 1/2 cup, because even healthy things, too much of a healthy thing could contribute to a lot of calories. So let's add it in there, but let's limit to about 1/2 cup. And fruit is always a good option for dessert. All right, let's switch gears and talk about vegetables. We want to aim for at least 2 to 3 cups or even more. Sky is the limit with any of the non-starchy vegetables. And we want to aim for 2 to 3 cups at least a day. A serving is about 1 cup, and that's roughly about the size of the back of your hand or a baseball. So you might be getting 2 servings and not even realize it, which is a good thing. Just one note about the non-starchy vegetables. Most vegetables are non-starchy, and we're going to go into more details about starchy vegetables later on. But the starchy vegetables that we want to be mindful of are your corn, your peas, and potatoes. Those are considered starchy vegetables, so we can eat them. We just have to be mindful about the portions, and we'll talk about that when we get to the grains. A good rule of thumb with the veggies is fill up half that plate. So if it's dinner time and that side of the plate that's fruits and vegetables, maybe we don't want fruit at dinner. So let's double up and fill up on those non-starchy veggies. Shop for fresh vegetables when in season. And again, in the middle of winter, it's a little harder. And that's when we could take advantage of the frozen veggies without any sauces or gravies. So no garlic butter, no cream spinach. Let's just get the plain. Eat a rainbow of different colors of fruits and vegetables, or excuse me, vegetables. Each vegetable offers different nutritional values. The orange ones are a good source of vitamin A. The green ones are a good source of vitamin K. So let's get a variety of them in there. And take advantage of your prepared vegetables, which are huge time savers. Bagged lettuce or cut up carrots or celery, those little baby carrots. These are things that are huge time savers and a good way to get some vegetables in there. And if we're buying canned, just make sure it's the reduced sodium, low salt, or no salt added. Prepare your vegetables ahead of time. Maybe slice raw vegetables at the beginning of the week for easy snacking or easy cooking in the evening. If you have time on Sunday, cut up that head of broccoli or buy pre-sliced broccoli so you could prepare it for dinner Monday night when you get home from work late. Keep salad greens on hand for a low prep side dish or a meal. Those are really easy. They have tons of bagged lettuce nowadays. And batch cook those vegetables to last several meals. Maybe roast a whole pan of a variety of different vegetables and you have some for different nights. Try cooking vegetables in new ways. I keep pointing out roasting, but I've had a lot of people that use the air fryer for their vegetables. That's a great way to get them in there. Steam them, saute them, rice them. Rice, for example, rice cauliflower. That's a good way to get it in there. Or spiralize. Has anyone had zucchini noodles? Zoodles. Those are a good way to get some vegetable in there. It's a really good way. If you haven't tried it, give it a whirl. And go ahead and flavor your food with some lemon, garlic, ginger. Let's try and limit the amount of salt we're using. And definitely get creative. We could find tons of different ways to add some vegetables into our favorite recipes. A nice quick dinner in the evening, if we prep some vegetables, a stir fry, that's quick and easy that we can make when we get home. Or casseroles or omelets are a good way to get some, peppers and onions or different spinach, different vegetables in there. Or soups or stews. We could, if we're having a pizza, a couple ways to get it in there is load up some veggies on top of the pizza rather than the high-fat meats. But we could also try some of that cauliflower crust. A lot of places are offering it already a crust for you that you can make the pizza on, or you could rice up your own cauliflower and mash it into a crust. It's pretty good if you haven't tried it. And try some grilled vegetable kebabs at your next barbecue or next time you're grilling. Let's take a minute now to talk about grains and starches. So this is the group that's kind of, if we went back to that picture of the plate, it's in the top right. It's about a quarter of your plate, or a half a cup is what we want to limit the portions of grains and starches. This group includes your rice, your pastas, your breads, any of these starchy foods. It also includes those starchy vegetables that we were talking about earlier, the potatoes, the corn, and the peas. It doesn't mean we can't eat those. We just want to be mindful with the portions and consider them more of a starch. So we keep that to about a half a cup or a quarter of the plate. This is a good food group to use your measuring cups because it's hard to eyeball what a half a cup looks like. So you could use that measuring cup. That's a good investment to make. And that way we could portion it out on our plate. It's roughly about the size of your hand. So if you cup your hand, that's roughly about the size, but a measuring cup is going to be more accurate. Try and choose whole grains more often. So whole grains, they're going to contain more nutrients, fiber than their processed counterparts. A whole grain is a grain that grows right out of the ground, and then they grind it up and turn it into a food. In your handout, there's some examples of whole grains, but if you see 100% whole wheat, they take the whole wheat grain, ground it up, and make it into bread. Anytime you see something that's enriched, that is not a whole grain. We want to make sure we're incorporating whole grains. And a good way to know if it's a whole grain is look down in ingredients, because ingredients are always listed most to least. So if you see 100% wheat or barley or rye in the first 3 ingredients, you're going to know it's a whole grain. Whole grains also may reduce the risk of heart disease, and it definitely helps with weight management because they tend to be high in fiber and filling. So it's good to look for 100% whole grain on the nutrition label. Don't get tricked with made with whole grains. You want to make sure it says 100% whole grain, because something can be made with whole grain, but it might be ingredient number 20. And that doesn't mean it's 100% whole grain. Try to switch to 100% whole grain bread or bread products or crackers. Try whole grain cereals or oatmeal. Oatmeal is a whole grain cereal. Something great to try are overnight oats. especially if you're not a morning person. This is something you can make the night before and keep in your fridge. And then the next morning, incorporate these overnight oats. Snack on popcorn without added salt or butter. Try brown rice or 100% whole grain. Start maybe with half your pasta whole wheat and the other half white, and then gradually increase the whole wheat pasta. And you could add quinoa. Quinoa is Quinoa, whole grains, brown rice, barley to soups or stews or stuffed peppers or salads. Quinoa is pretty good. It's also a good source of protein. So give it a whirl if you haven't tried it. And then when baking, you could try to use some whole wheat flour versus the white flour. But again, maybe go half and half before you go full in, because it will change the taste a little bit. These are some healthy whole grains, and this list is in your handout, so you could take a look at this. And some of them we just talked about. Another good one is our corn tortillas. Those are considered a whole grain as well. Let's take a couple minutes now to talk about protein. So protein is going to be one of the most important nutrients that we're going to talk about after surgery and focus on after surgery. We need it for immune function, for wound healing, and to maintain our muscle mass. One of the things that we could work on now as we're getting ready for surgery and trying to eat a balanced meal is to make sure that we're getting something with protein at every meal and snack. It helps you stay full and keeps you full a little longer when we eat it spread out throughout the day. Some of the best sources of protein are going to be found in your meats, your poultries, your egg and fish, but we could also incorporate it from beans and legumes, nuts and seeds, and dairy products. One note about nuts and seeds is we want to make sure we're mindful with the portion sizes, because even though nuts and seeds are going to be a really good fat, it's a heart protective fat, any foods that's going to be high in fat tend to be a little higher in calorie. So we're going to keep in mind with our weight management goals, we want to make sure we're limiting our nuts and seeds to roughly about a quarter of a cup. And then a serving of protein is about the size of the palm of your hand, or about a deck of cards. If you've got big palms, I would use the deck of cards. When you meet with the dietitian for your last visit, we're going to specifically tell you how much protein you really want to focus on after surgery. But it's important to make sure when we're choosing our protein, we choose lean meats and poultry. We make sure we're getting cuts of beef that are lean, like the round, the roast, the sirloin, the chuck, the shoulder. Ground beef, if we're choosing ground beef for turkey, go more towards the 90-10 versus the 80-20. If we're going with pork, we want to get a tenderloin or centerloin. Loin is a really good word. That means lean. Also, skinless chicken breasts or some lean deli meats, such as turkey or chicken or roast beef. The American Heart Association recommends we choose fish at least twice per week. We want to bake it, broil it, or grill it are good healthy cooking methods. And we could do salmon or trout or other fish. And we want to purchase tuna in water versus oil. And tuna we could have in salads, on sandwiches, or on crackers. And tuna is even sold in these little pouches that are quick and easy to throw in your lunch bag. And that's a way to get one serving of fish in there a week. And then maybe have a fillet of fish like salmon for dinner another night. Variety meals with some plant-based protein, especially if we're meal planning with themes. If we're doing a meatless Monday, it's a great chance to make a chili or a soup with beans, lentils, or even split peas. Add black beans to your salads or make enchiladas with beans instead of meat. Hummus and veggie burgers, falafel or tofu are some other sources of some plant-based proteins that are good to incorporate. Let's talk about dairy for a couple minutes. So dairy also is a great source of protein, calcium, and vitamin D, which is really good for our bones and our skeletal system to keep it strong. When we're choosing dairy, we want to make sure we're choosing light or low fat or fat free, which translates to skim or 1% milk. Those are the low fat sources. As far as cheese, we want to make sure we're choosing some of the lower fat cheeses and avoiding some of the higher fat cheeses. Some of the lower fat cheeses might be like a mozzarella is a little bit lower fat versus like a brie is a higher fat. And we want to make sure we're mindful of the portions. As far as Greek yogurt or cottage cheese, these are things that we want to incorporate in there for dairy. Watch the added sugar. This is important to look at that food label and make sure we're choosing less than 15 grams of sugar. So we want to watch the fruit on the bottoms. The Greek yogurt is going to give you a little bit more protein than the regular yogurt, so it's good to gravitate more towards those. Limit high-fat dairy. Some high-fat dairies would be like cream or whole milk in your coffee or other beverages, and cream-based soups or sauces and desserts. So cream-based soups might be like a cream of crab is going to be high-calorie, as well as sauces or like a fettuccine Alfredo sauces. Anything cream-based is going to be high. And a serving of cheese is roughly about 4 dice. Lactose intolerant is common. A lot of people have trouble tolerating dairy, and that's okay. There's plenty of alternatives out there. There's all those lactose-free milks like Lactaid. Greek yogurt generally has less lactose than regular yogurt. Hard cheeses have less lactose than the soft cheeses. And then you're welcome to use the lactase enzymes if that's something that offers you relief. And then there's plenty of milks out on the market that are dairy alternatives like cashew milk, almond milk, soy milk, pea protein, or rice milk. Make sure when we're choosing those, though, we choose the unsweetened version, so no vanilla flavor. We want to just get the plain. Keep in mind that these milk alternatives have less protein than the regular dairy counterpart, which is okay. It's just after surgery when we're planning our protein and counting our protein, just keep that in mind. So take a couple minutes now to think about a meal that you could plan for your family, or a couple meals, and get your other family members involved. Check out the ChooseMyPlate.gov website and come up with some ideas, and using this as a guide, which might help you. These are some tips that might help you, again, with balanced meals and meal planning. Eat small, frequent meals and snacks throughout the day to help stabilize your blood sugars, reduce cravings, and stay full and reduce overeating. Again, that example of lunch at noon and dinner at 6, that's way too long to go without eating, and you're going to get yourself too hungry, which might lead you to making a poor food choice, hitting a vending machine, or going to fast food. Have breakfast every morning, even if it's something small. A protein shake is something that could play the breakfast role, or we could have the yogurt and fruit examples, or make some eggs if we have some time. And pack healthy meals and snacks for work and school and on the go. If it's a day you're going to be out and about, throw some things in your bag to snack on throughout the day to help prevent you from hitting up a fast food store or a vending machine again. And in your class handout, there's some great ideas for meal ideas and snacks. As far as snacking, just a couple other things. Again, they could definitely play a role throughout your day to provide energy and give you some nutrition. Having a fruit is a great snack, and pair that with a protein, apples and peanut butter, for example. This can help prevent you from overeating later in the day. Snack only when you're hungry. If you're not feeling hungry, you don't have to have a snack, but it's good to have in hand in case that hunger does hit. Try to incorporate some protein and fiber to help you stay full. Again, maybe a serving of, a quarter of a cup of nuts is a great thing that gives you fiber and protein, or a yogurt with some fruit, some berries mixed in. That's a protein with a fiber. These are some great examples. There's more in your handout. Keep snacks to about 200 calories or less. We don't want to get too many calories in there. And when we're snacking throughout the day or eating more frequently throughout the day, make sure that we're having smaller portions at meals, because we don't want to eat large portions plus snacks. That would be too many calories. And consider buying or making pre-measured snacks. They make the nuts and the 100-calorie snack bags. That's a great option. Or again, portion out food into smaller containers. Never bring a canister of nuts and have it at your desk at work and just snack off of that. Measure out that quarter of a cup in a little baggie and snack on that quarter of a cup. Just a little note on beverages. Beverages that we're going to choose after surgery have to be carbonation-free, caffeine-free, sugar-free, and alcohol-free. So it's good to start getting in the habit of doing that now. And all our beverages that we choose after surgery should be less than 10 calories per serving. So on the left are some good ideas to enjoy, and on the right are some to avoid. Fruit-infused water is a great idea to try. There's so many recipes online. We could try watermelon mint, or ginger in our water. They make really good if plain water is just too boring. But we want to avoid juice and sparkling waters. Instead of the sweetened teas or sweetened caffeinated coffees, we could always try the decaf versions of tea and coffee. And again, any artificial sweetener that you would like to use is fine as far as a calorie standpoint. So you could use those rather than drinking them plain if you prefer it that way, as long as it's decaf and we're not using added sugar. Before we set some goals, it's just important to realize that there's a ton of options out there too. If there's a lot of options, if meal planning just gets away from you from the week, that you can make some healthier choices. There's a lot of home delivery meal options that are out there that you could take advantage of, and you could find some coupons. Some examples that are out there, but there's plenty more out there, are things like Blue Apron or Hello Fresh or Sunbasket. These are some ideas. There's also some websites like the choosemyplate.gov, and there's one called eMeals or bariatriceating.com that can help you with some ideas. And then there's just apps out there also, that the grocery store apps, that's something that you could even order a meal kit from some of the grocery stores, and then, or just order your groceries online and then drive up and they could bring them to your cart, to your car, and that might help eliminate the impulse purchases. And if you could order a meal kit at one of the grocery stores for, let's say, fajitas, and it will include the peppers and onions, the chicken, the fajitas, and you could pull up and they'll bring that to your car. So that's another helpful option for you. Or if you know time, if you just don't have that time to grocery shop, there's a lot of, like Instacart is an example of place that could do the shopping for you and deliver the meals to your home. So take advantage of some of these if you know, as part of your meal planning week, if you know the week is just going to be too busy. All right, you take each week as it comes and realize that not every week is going to be perfect. We're just hoping to work on some really positive meal planning changes. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk about some goal setting. So every class, at the end of each class, we're going to set 3 to 4 goals. These goals have to be written as SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So let's go through and talk about, one goal is going to be class related, one goal is exercise related, and 1 to 2 are going to be personalized goals. These are some examples of class related goals. Maybe I will spend about 30 minutes each week planning meals and making a grocery list. I will take time at the beginning of each week this month to prepare meals for the week, maybe chopping the vegetables or batch cooking. I will prepare dinner at home, blank nights per week this month. Again, do what's realistic for you, taking a look at your week. I will choose 1 protein source at every meal and snack. I will limit my portion of grains or starches to 1/4 of the plate or 1/2 cup. I will switch to low-fat, fat-free dairy, or I will pack lunches or snacks for work or school at least blank days of the week, starting tomorrow for the next month. So take a couple minutes and think of a class-related goal. Next are exercise-related goals. If you're already exercising, keep it up. I will challenge you to either add some more time to the exercise or add another day or increase the intensity. If we haven't started exercising, let's get started. Everyone has to start somewhere. So it could be written like, I will blank, whether it's walking, biking, swimming, blank minutes, blank days of the week. So take a couple minutes now to kind of write that down. And weightlifting is another thing that we can incorporate. Weightlifting or strength training, blank days of the week. And lastly are some personal goal examples. And these are things that you will learn in other classes to help you to get ready for surgery. I will decrease my daily caffeine carbonation intake by blank for the next month. This is a really good one for people that are further along in the program. I will drink at least 64 ounces of water or a beverage fewer than 10 calories every day starting today for the next month. This is a good habit to get into. I got mine right here. I will limit fried foods to once per week. I will limit dining out to blank nights per week. Let's take advantage of this meal planning. I will increase my vegetable intake to blank servings per day. I will replace 1 meal per day with a recommended protein shake. This is something that I really want you, while we're getting ready for surgery, to incorporate protein shakes in there, either as a meal replacement or a snack. Let's get them in there. I will take a multivitamin every day starting today. This is a really good one too, to get you in the habit for the vitamins and minerals that you're going to be on forever after surgery. And it also may help replete any deficiencies you may have. I will keep a food diary every day to track my food and beverage intake. And I will get a minimum of 6 hours of sleep per night starting tonight. These are some great personal examples. And it could be, you could write 1 of them, 2 of them, whatever you feel comfortable with that you want to use to get ready for surgery. All right. Well, thank you for listening today. I look forward to assisting you further on your weight loss journey. Thank you very much.